As we look more into Auburn and Mississippi State, man, it reminds me of a game from earlier this season.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. We're joined by Mike G of the War Rapport. Was looking a lot at Mississippi State, specifically Mississippi State versus Arkansas, because that's the quarterback I believe Auburn will be playing on Saturday, Mike G, when we talk about Mike Wright stepping in for the injured Will Rogers.
Yes.
And I think how Auburn has to play defensively to continue to stop Mississippi State, as a lot of teams have this year, it reminds me of the Cal game going into it. Like, this is a game Auburn should win. Auburn's more talented. And then when you look at some of the trends that they have with Mike Wright at quarterback, which we have a one-game sample size during his time at Mississippi State, they like to attack the edges of the field in the running game. And we kind of talked about the need to contain Cal's mobile quarterback going into that game. And I think this is going to be a similar type play of the defense in regards to making sure everything kind of stays between the tackles against Mississippi State.
Yeah, Wright had 11 carries for 60 yards versus Arkansas last week. I think that the young man can create, some havoc with his legs. But the comparison that you made to Cal, in my opinion, that's dead on. First and foremost, this is not a good football team. Let's put it out. You and I agreed going into Cal, that was not a good football team. I think Auburn absolutely played down to the competition in that game. And for this to be a game, I think they're going to have to do the same thing. They're going to have to play down to the competition. But if you're not going to contain Wright, he can create some mismatches and maybe hurt you. So we only have a one-game sample size, Zach, for Wright. We don't have a ton to look at when it comes to this kid. But he went 8 for 12 for like 85 yards. We talked off camera a little bit about, a couple of those were screen passes. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to turn him loose a little bit more. What percentage of the playbook does he have a handle on at Mississippi State? And do they expand that a little bit going into a hostile environment on the plains? It'll be interesting to see how they manage their young quarterback.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that's been in the SEC for a minute when you talk about Mike Wright, the former Vanderbilt quarterback. But I just think from a talent standpoint, Auburn has a more talented roster than Mississippi State. Yep. And the mismatch I think Mississippi State would have had would be in the quarterback position. But Will Rogers is not expected to play on Saturday. And that would have been a big mismatch as far as Mississippi State's quarterback versus Auburn's quarterback. That's not the case anymore. I think the Peyton Thorne / Robbie Ashford combo, assuming it is a combo, we'll discuss that in a few minutes, Mike G. But I like what Auburn has at the quarterback position, at least in the same tier as Mike Wright. I don't think I would pick Mike Wright over Auburn's quarterback situation, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that.
The advantage that other teams have had over Auburn at the end of some of these close games has been quarterback play. Having a quarterback can drive the ball down the field and get a score in crunch time when they need to. That's not the situation here against Mississippi State as of right now, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think that he's the guy that's going to kill you at the end of the game. So Auburn should, if they jump out to a lead in this one, I in my opinion, with Wright, I don't think that they're built to come from behind. So you're gonna have home field advantage. Rattle him. Mm-hmm. This will be a hostile environment. They still got a lot to play for this season. So if they can go out and create the same type of environment that they did versus Ole Miss this past weekend, I could see him being a little rattled and Auburn be able to get to him. But you're absolutely right about the contain aspect of this. Keep him make him go through progressions and make reads and play quarterback the right way. And I think Auburn can win this game. I don't want to say easily because nothing's come easily for the Tigers this season, but
no, I don't think it'll be easy. They can't do what Arkansas did, right? In Arkansas, they went through this brutal stretch of 5 games where they lost them all. They're like, okay, all right, we play Mississippi State now. We're good. We can end this.
Right.
And then they did it. That didn't go the way they wanted to. Auburn can't do that. They can't say, okay, we're finally out of this brutal 4-game stretch in the middle of our schedule. We can now kind of focus on the rest of the season and then slip up. They can't do that. They got to treat it like they did the previous few games. So, you're talking about Mike Wright's ability to run the ball. This does not count quarterback scrambles, Mike.
Yep.
This does not count quarterback scrambles. But in Mississippi State's game against Arkansas, 65 of their 130 yards on the ground were outside the tackles. So on 35 total rush attempts, this is according to Pro Football Focus, 35 total rush attempts, 130. They got 130 yards on 35 rushes. They got 35 yards around left end on 6 attempts, 30 yards around right end on 7 attempts. So a big chunk of their rushing plays were designed to go outside of the tackles. And I think that's interesting. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying about Cal, is just the importance of containment. Don't let guys outside of you. And Ole Miss attacked the edges in the rushing game early this past Saturday night, and they had success with it over the course of the game. Auburn got better at defending that, but looking at the Jack linebackers and Auburn's traditional linebackers, like, this is going to be a big game for them. It's going to be a big game for Elijah McAllister. It's going to be a big game for Jalen McLeod. It's going to be a big game for Keldrick Falk, Eugene Asante. I mean, this is their time to shine, because Auburn's defense needs to be able to stop a Mississippi State offense that I don't think is very good. The stats don't believe that it's very good, and they've got a backup quarterback and they're on the road. I mean, everything is pointing towards the Auburn Tigers on Saturday, and Auburn just needs a win for the sake of keeping the season going. And emotionally in that locker room and in this fan base, like, you need to stop it. And I think it's going to be a physical game. And I think Auburn, when it comes down to talent and strength at the line of scrimmage, they should be able to pull this off.
Yeah, my closing thoughts on this, Zach, are this secondary versus Mike Wright's arm advantage Auburn by a long shot.
Yeah,
in my opinion. So if they can't run the ball, I can't see them being able to do much. Last week, Arkansas versus State, both offenses put up just over 200 yards of offense, which is anemic. And this is going to be this is still one of the better defenses in the league, Zach. Auburn still has one of the better defenses in the league. They are just as talented as anybody at the one deep, and I believe that they will dominate this game. Now, the one way to get the opposing offense going, and we're going to get into this in the next one, is to give them more possessions to do so. So it'll be interesting to see, again, if they can win time of possession in this one and help their defense out, because I know I'm confident that they'll do their part on that side of the ball.
Yeah, and worth noting, Mike G, that Mike Wright had a long run that was called back because of a hold. Then later in the game, Arkansas had a similar thing happen to them. So worth noting that the explosive play does exist. It just didn't happen too often for Mississippi State. All right, the quarterback situation. What should we expect? What does Mike G think Auburn should do about the quarterback situation? We discuss next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Jace Medical. Jace Medical, they now offer customizable ability, customizability for your Jace case with dozens of add-on medications. The Jace case is a personalized emergency medication kit that contains 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common and deadly bacterial infections. You can customize your case and add additional life-saving medicines based on your unique needs. Jace is continually working to expand their medication offerings. In these recent efforts, they've added several new features, so be sure to head over to jacemedical.com to see that. Also, you can buy a gift card for a family member or one of your loved ones so they can get a Jace case of their own. Want to encourage you to go to jacemedical.com and enter code LOCKEDON at checkout for a $20 discount on your order. That's promo code Locked On at Jace Medical. Jace is spelled Jase medical.com for $20 off jacemedical.com. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is the best place to wager on all of your sports action. Right now, looking at Auburn and Mississippi State, according to our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, Auburn is a 6.5-point favorite. You also can look at the Auburn money line. That's minus 265 currently. And Auburn, Mississippi State, the over-under is set at 43.5. So if any part of that tickles your fancy, be sure to head over to FanDuel.com/lockedon. Right now, new customers at FanDuel Sportsbook can get $200 back in bonus bets guaranteed if you place a $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off your hopeful sports winnings. Mike G of the War Rapport hanging out with us on this War Rapport Wednesday. A million different opinions out there about what Auburn fans saw on offense, but specifically at the quarterback position. We saw longer stints of each quarterback being in this quarterback rotation, with quarterbacks essentially getting full drives, and they were tag off every few drives or so. And if you're going to do it, I think that's a better way to do it than what you were doing, Mike G. And it doesn't seem like Hugh Freeze is too interested in changing things up, or do you think that he could be changing things up in the future?
Robbie Ashford was the first quarterback out, Zach, on Saturday.
Right.
And they gave him a whole drive. They didn't last very long, but moved the ball a little bit and essentially came up short there. Look, it was 3 for 4 on Saturday. He had 4 pass attempts. He completed 3 of those attempts. He had a touchdown. I think he did not have a touchdown on Saturday. He did not have a touchdown on Saturday. But interestingly, in today's Monday's presser, Freeze mentioned the quarterback when asked about the quarterback position, said Robbie Ashford, has a package and a place. He has a place, and whether that place is every down is something we're going to look at, right? And to me, that maybe leans toward they're looking toward giving him the primary division of the snaps. Bringing Robbie Ashford in as a changeup makes sense to me in some ways, but bringing Peyton Thorne in off the bench with Robbie Ashford as a starter doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
I agree with
that
that.
at all. Right? Yeah. So if you're going to go to Robbie Ashford, you're really going to Robbie Ashford, and maybe this is a good game, given that you don't have any more cupcakes until November left on the schedule to do that against this team that's not great.
Yeah.
And see what you have in this quarterback truly this time. So I agree with you. It was a little better how they handled the quarterback rotation, but he also alluded in the press conference that they're not giving either quarterback the whole playbook. And I was a little taken back by that comment as well, too. Peyton Thorne isn't running the whole playbook, Zach.
Why not? He's running the ball just fine. I don't understand why you wouldn't be comfortable calling certain reads with Peyton.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I still don't think for a 60-something% quarterback that they let Peyton throw the ball enough. Auburn in the last 4 games, 3 out of the last 4 SEC games, they've run the ball over twice as much as they've thrown it. So it doesn't,
which I'm fine with, by the way.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it just appears to be.
It's the timing of the passes or lack thereof that I'm more concerned with. Like on a 3rd and 6, and you just don't feel like you can pass it.
Yeah,
that's concerning. Big picture concerning.
Man, Saturday, it was concerning enough to the crowd that we heard boo birds rain down, Zach, at times during the game because of what was happening on the field. So the question I would want to ask is, does he trust these quarterbacks to throw the ball? Because, Peyton has thrown it more than Robbie, but proportionately speaking to time played, it's pretty even, if you get what I'm saying, in terms of ratio. He's not letting either quarterback really let it rip. And I think it's going to be difficult in close games because coming down the stretch when the game is tight, you got to throw the ball to win, man. And, they trusted Jackson Dart to do that, right? Carson Beck did it. Even what's his face at Texas A&M came off the bench and played well.
Max Johnson.
Max Johnson, right? Yeah. So it's they've got to find a way to try to get the passing game going. In the run game, we say it's important to at least attempt to run the ball, to try to keep the defense honest. I think in some respect, you can say the same thing about the passing game. If you're not going to attempt it, they're not going to respect it. They're going to load up against the one thing that you do, and they're going to dare you to beat them the other way. And that's what you may see Auburn face again on Saturday. So hopefully these quarterbacks, given the opportunity, even if they're limited, can take more advantage of it than they have.
Were you surprised with him kind of calling Robbie out on the first play of the game at his presser earlier in the week when he talked about how it should have been a give on that first play?
No.
Okay.
I'm not. I think that
I just kind of wonder, like, why is that? Why is that needed? Like, why did he need to do that?
Yeah, right. Like I'm not surprised by it.
Yeah.
I've come on this show and talked about messaging and how messages are sent and delivered. And I think that's still something that they're fine tuning. He's trying. He knows it. He's gotten this feedback, so he's trying. But ultimately, this is not about any one play. It's not about any one player. This is about a system and an approach to the game so far this year offensively, Zach, that quite frankly just hasn't worked.
Right.
And we get it. You need guys, but I said on our own show this morning, the guys that are on the team now deserve to be in the best situation you could possibly put them in. And I'm just not sure that's happened so far this year. So we leave coaches room to grow, same way we leave players room to grow. Hopefully they solve this so that, moving into the future, whether a kid is a 5-star or not, they're getting the best opportunity they can to maximize their talent at Auburn.
Yeah. And I think most guys, there's very few guys where I'm like, okay, the coaching staff is letting them down. I think a lot of it is execution. And I think the receivers earlier in the year, it seemed like they were getting open and Peyton wasn't seeing them. But then when you look at what happened against Ole Miss, like the receivers are just blanketed. So I don't know. I don't know who the blame is on, man. It seems like it changes every week.
Yeah, it's a mix of things.
It's just so many things, and that's what's frustrating about it.
Yeah, I don't think you put it any one place. And whenever we have these discussions, usually people pick out things that we say, Zach, and then they focus on that one thing and say, you think it's all Peyton Thorne or this or that. It's not. It's not any one thing.
It's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. Right? So it is at times execution. The reason why I lean more I'm a little bit more slanted toward play calling, because what you are asking them to do matters. And just because something can be executed doesn't mean it was the most optimal thing to do in that situation, right? And so they've got to, when you do have a talent gap, you need to call more optimal plays than not, and that's how you beat teams that are better than you. And I think that's what fans were expecting, a little bit more of that. It may not have resulted in more W's, but it would 100% look better than what we've seen so far.
Yeah. Double passes to Holden Geriner, yay or nay?
I'm going with nay.
Me too.
Not how I wanted to see Holden used.
I would have loved to see Holden, but not in that manner.
Yeah,
but
I was very disappointed in that.
I'd love to know what was going through Holden's head when he was in that situation, because I'm sure he was very excited, and then it just didn't go well, and I hate that for him. I really do.
Yeah, he stood out, man. Like the 12 out there just stood out. Come on, man. I didn't like that. I didn't like that call, but teach his own.
Yeah, teach his own. That's right. That's right. All right. I want to get your prediction for what Auburn fans should realistically expect on Saturday. We discuss that next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience is all what brings home the championship. It's also what can keep your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up. They've got brakes, they've got roof racks, exhaust kits, they've got all sorts of stuff, everything you could possibly need for your car. With 122 million parts for your ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And they've got this eBay guaranteed fit, where you add your car to your My Garage page on your eBay Motors account, and it'll show you everything that's guaranteed to fit. And of course, if it doesn't, you'll get your money back. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. Auburn family, let's ride. Mike G of the War Rapport. Final few minutes of today's show.
Yeah.
You're not high on Mississippi State. I'm not high on Mississippi State. With all that being said, I don't think it's going to be a shellacking on Saturday. I don't think Auburn's going to run away with this. I think the 6.5 point line, courtesy of our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook, is right on. I think that's about where it should be. But in your mind, in your estimation, what should Auburn fans expect to happen on Saturday?
Zach, I mean, let's be honest. It has not been good offensively this year.
Correct.
However, I'm going full Bulldog on this one. Auburn by 2 touchdowns in this one. I think that you cannot lose to this team.
No,
you can't lose to this team. I think Jarquez Hunter found a little something against Ole Miss. He looked like, Jarquez of old. And if you can continue to run the ball effectively, keep them off the field, the defense continues to get turnovers week after week, man, and you're at home against a terrible Mississippi State team. I see this one, Auburn 31.
31?
Mississippi State 17.
You think Auburn scores 30 points on Saturday?
I think Auburn finally breaks the 21-point barrier in SEC.
What are you basing that on? Do you think the passing game happens? Do you think they're able to just run the football? A few busted plays? How do they get there?
Short fields by the defense. I think that they're given a few short fields to work with that is worth plus 14 in this game. Like, a defense will turn Mississippi State over a couple times in their own territory, and Auburn will be able to find the end zone and a field goal. So,
if Mike Wright only throws it 12 times, you think that happens? Or do you think Mike Wright's going to have to throw it more than that?
I don't think it matters. I think they will turn them over. I think they're going to find a way to turn Mississippi State over.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting.
You said 31. What? How many points did you give Mississippi State?
7. I'm giving them 17 in this one.
Okay, so right at 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think they're good. I just, man,
I think it's lower. I'm fine with the 2 touchdowns. If you told me
it's fair, that's fair.
If you told me 24-10, I'd be fine with that. I could, and that's probably closer to where I'm at. I think both teams are physical. Okay. I think both teams aren't going to give up, and I think both teams are going to run the ball. It's going to be a quick football game, I think.
Okay.
This to me seems like an ugly type football. This feels like a 20-10, 17-7, 17-10 type game, in my opinion. I was shocked. I didn't hear anything you said after you said 31 points. Yeah, I hope you're right, man. I just don't see that. I don't see that happening.
It's complete projection on my part. I'm not basing it on anything statistical. I just feel like, based on matchups, this is the game where Auburn would get to 30 points. Right. If they're not going to do it against them, they may not do it this season. So if they're going to get to 30 points, this is going to be the game. Look, I mean, I called Ole Miss Auburn last week 35-28.
Pretty close.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they both came out a touchdown short of what I thought they would do. But ultimately, this game should be the least competitive game they'll play in SEC play this year, and I'm including Vanderbilt in that. I do not like the Mississippi State team at all, and
especially at home.
Yeah,
especially after they were in Fayetteville last year.
Correct.
Last week, it's just not a good spot for them
to lose this game. They're going to have to play down to the competition. I'm not putting that past them. I just don't think it happens this week.
Well, they've certainly done that, right? I mean, going back to the Cal comparison, they've certainly done that, but at home, they haven't really. They really haven't done that at home. It's been more on the road. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with them. I'm with you. I'm with you on they should win. I don't know if I'm necessarily with you by 2 touchdowns.
I've been dangerously accurate in SEC play so far this year. So
I hope you're accurate here. Do they go 4-0 in their next 4? No.
I don't think so.
No. Okay. 3-1?
Yeah. Don't ask me which games, though.
Sure. If they go 3-1, and then if you lose the Iron Bowl, that puts you at 6-6.
6. Right. That gets you to a bowl game, and that's exactly where I think the staff wants to be at this point. Get to a bowl game, get that extra game, which is you get the extra practices.
You get a bunch of practices for the young guys. You can totally kind of prep for the future. I'm cool with that. Yeah. I'm cool with that. So, Mike G, how can people check out everything you guys have going on at the War Rapport?
Listen, head on over to YouTube at the War Rapport. We got lots of great content. We're not done with Fireside with the War Rapport, so we got more great content coming there. Follow us on every social media platform at the War Rapport, TW Rapport on TikTok.
Yes, you can find all my written work at auburndaily.com, and we will see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.